Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, welcome back to another long overdue episode of Deathgate. The Blackwell review took a little longer than I expected, but we're back. And close to finishing the game, because last time we got out of the world of Abarak after we had fixed the Colossus and saved the people, and got our hands on the fourth piece of the World Seal. Also, we found out the reason why the Sartan were dying off is because they were abusing the power of necromancy, and for every person brought back to life, someone else had to die. So yeah, that's not good, but we got one world left to go, so let's not waste any time and head off to Chelestra. Bombs away. Once more onto the Deathgate, dear friends. Well, that's not true. We're gonna have to go back one more time as well, so forget I said anything. Upon leaving the Deathgate, your ship is surrounded by water. A light from an underwater sun glints off the crystalline domes of orbiting moons. Underneath the nearest, you see an entrance, so you guide your ship inside. You can't see me right now, but I'm making quotation fingers. Right, let's check it out, sea monkey. Your ship has landed on a beach which rises to a dark cave in the rock wall. A shimmering city lies to the west. You notice that the stone you're holding has started to glow a faint green. It also tingles a bit in your hand. Uh-oh, that can't be good. Remember what Zifnap said? The thing would react to the presence of something terribly evil. It glows a slight green and tingles to the touch. Does that mean that something unspeakably evil is close to us right now? I guess so. Let's have a look around. You walk towards the cave, but as you get closer, you begin to feel fear gnaw at your insides. You felt fear before in the labyrinth, but nothing like this. There's nothing around to inspire such terror, but every step you take toward the cave makes you want to claw your eyes out. Before you're halfway there, you've collapsed on the ground. Magic, you reason. It must be magic. That's not a good sign, either. A thick wall surrounds a city-sized glowing dome. In front looms a gate upon whose door is a huge graven spell. You get the distinct impression that you are being watched. What's this, then? You recognize the spell from Balthazar's book. It is a warding spell designed to keep out foreign magic. Unfortunately, it also keeps everything else out, including you. A glowing translucent dome covers the vague form of a city. Gotta admit, that is impressive looking. Oh look, rocks. I think we need to use one of these rune bones that we got to mess up the rune on this thing right here. A smooth block divides the wall surrounding the city. A rune structure has been carved on its surface. Let's see. I don't know which one of these I'm supposed to use, but let's just try one and see what happens. The spell. The magic of the ward resists your spell. While it's possible to modify one spell into another by adding on another rune, the addition of this rune would change the ward spell into nonsense. Let's just keep trying. Whoops. Keep trying until I figure out which one is the right one to use. Aha! Second try. You transfer the symbol from the rune bone onto the city gate. Immediately, the rune appears at the end of the spell, modifying it from a powerful ward into a possession spell. Since the possession spell has none of the qualities of a warding spell, indeed it is a very useless spell that plays upon a city gate, the magic dome falls away to reveal the glistening capital city of the Sartan. The sight takes your breath away. Hooray! You find it very hard to regain your lost breath as you are struck by a wave of terror. All the glimmerings you've experienced before this are nothing compared to the fear that grips you. You've never, ever been so afraid. The sheer emotional impact throws you to your knees. Blood rushes in your ears. A shriek emerges from the depths of your being. In the labyrinth, you always used your fear to advantage. It made you quicker, smarter. This fear is unreasoning. You can't control it. You can't use it. You don't even know what's causing it. Uh-oh. Wild-eyed, you almost break your neck swinging your head around trying to spy the source. It isn't long in coming. A black talon claw strikes your back and sends you sprawling into the sand. You twist around but cannot rise. You stare into the blood-red eyes of a dragon. They show you your death and you cannot but gibber in response.
Ah, a patron. I hope that if I let you live and watched for a while, you would succeed where I have failed for so many years. And you have. You have opened the city to me. My magic was useless against that infernal spell. But you understand those mystic runes. You changed it somehow. I am grateful to you, patron. In return, I will give you a quick death. Painful to be certain, but quick.
Help. You find that words completely fail you. You lie helpless, trembling under the claw of this dragon. He rears back, inhaling. Flames leak from his nose and mouth. When he appears about ready to loose his fiery blast, something catches his eye. Immediately, he curtails his attack to stare at the brightly glowing stone that Zifnab gave you.
What is this? This wasn't made by the puny rune magic that you use. How did you come by it?
You can't even form the first word of an answer, and it seems that this dragon doesn't really expect one. Its other foreclaw reaches out and delicately removes the stone from your possession. He draws the stone up to his eye for closer inspection. In reaction, he hisses and roars and waves his neck back and forth, wildly, sinuously, spouting flame everywhere.
This should not exist! It is impossible! There is only me, Sangdrax! I am the way! You don't mind if I relieve you of this stone, do you? You will certainly have no need of it shortly.
He tosses the stone away. It falls on a pile of rocks of similar shape and size. The only way you can distinguish it from the others is by its shine, which is like the sun. Suddenly, you take notice of a furry form splayed on the ground. You realize that your dog has been silently crawling towards you on its belly, braving the aura of fear that keeps you helpless. Every inch is a struggle, and it seems that at any second the dog will bolt, but it keeps coming. When it gets near, a quiet whimper escapes its throat, barely audible, but loud enough to attract the attention of the dragon. Oh, I don't want the poor dog to get killed too.
This is your rescue? A life form lower than yourself? I will give it this. The dog is certainly braver than you, patron.
The dragon rears back and fills the cavern with laughter. This gives the dog just enough time to crawl within reach. It looks at you plaintively, even puts its muzzle into your outstretched hand.
Perhaps the dog is wishing you a fond farewell. It knows what is about to happen. I was simply going to kill you, but I've reconsidered. I won't merely end your life, patron. I will eliminate every trace of you. I am going to destroy your soul. You will no longer exist on this or any other plane. You should not have brought that stone into my presence. Prepare yourself for oblivion, patron.
Not my soul, I need that to live. The dragon rears back again. You assume that no distraction is going to keep it from completing its task this time. You take one look at your struggling companion and draw some strength from his bravery. You might have the wherewithal to do something, if only you can figure out what to do. Wherewithal, that's an interesting word. Oh boy. Well, the solution is obvious. Possess the dog and run like hell. You trace the runes in the air and place your hand on the dog's scruffy fur. The magic swiftly takes hold. You stiffen as you feel your soul passing away. Everything goes dark. Your soul flies into the dog's body just as Sangdrax lets loose the blast of fire. The dog's reflexes leap you away, keeping you from harm. This doesn't save your body, though. The flaming column burns a hole clear through its chest. You can actually see the glowing rock floor below.
Now to take care of his mangy pets.
Sangdrax bellows in triumph, but then his eyes orient on you. He breathes in, preparing another blast. Well, I saved my soul, but I wish I could say the same for my body. Run! You bolt into the city, narrowly missing the dragon's second torrent of flame. Scared almost out of your mind, you dart into the cluster of buildings. You pad into narrow alleys and twisting side streets. Soon, when you feel you might have lost the dragon, you wander into an open building. Robed figures are filling the seats surrounding you. They all move slowly, yawning as if just awakened. A man in the front notices you and approaches. This is the meeting chamber of the Sartan High Council. Seats ring the speaking area where you stand.
What do we have here? A dog? I haven't seen a dog for ages. But then again, I've been asleep for that long. Hello, boy. I'm Sama. How'd you get in here? Did you come with the Sartan forces from the other realms?
He crouches down, gives your head a pat, and looks deeply into your eyes. Suddenly his face goes stone sober and his eyes grow hard. He retracts his hand as if fearful of your biting it off. Well. Out of the fire and into the frying pan. The head honcho Sartan himself.
This dog is no dog. It is a vessel for another's soul. The soul of a patron.
The councilmen gasp and yell, but Sama waves his hands and the room quiets.
We found no other Sartan, no rescue forces. All we discovered were the charred remains of one man and these items.
Well, they saved my inventory at least.
Friends, we have a very unusual situation. Our ward has fallen. This roused us from our slumber as predicted. But instead of greeting the Sartan rescue forces as we expected, all we find is a dog carrying a patron's soul. We need answers, and the only source is this patron. While he exists inside of the dog, he cannot communicate. I suggest that we restore the patron to his original form so that we can question him.
I know this looks strange, but I can't explain.
Bring a patron here? To our very heart? Have you forgotten that the patrons are our mortal enemies? I say leave him in the dog's body. Soon he'll forget he ever was a patron, and he'll be no threat to us.
Do you know what is happening out there? Where are our fellows? Why is this patron here? How long have we slept? It is very possible that the patrons have been rehabilitated as intended. Perhaps this is our rescuer. Is this how you would treat such a guest? No. We shall restore him, and we shall have our questions answered then. It is the only way. Whatever you might think of me, Councilman, I am no fool. You may prepare the nullification element. We will administer it to the patron after he is restored.
The councilman grunts in approval, then fetches a bottle filled with water. He traces a quick spell in the air which flows into the liquid. After a moment of light, the bottle looks absolutely normal. You notice that while you were watching the lone Sartan and his bottle, the entire council has gathered around you. Together they weave an incredibly complex spell that appears to require them all. Like a blanket, the spell falls over you, sinks into your flesh. The dog's body reacts violently to the Sartan magic. Limbs stretch, tendons pop, your bones start to expand and twist. You let loose yowls of pain, one after another, but notice that each one sounds a little more like a human scream than the last. Finally, you lay on the ground, panting and hurting, but in what seems to be your old, comfortable body. You feel hands draw you up and clothe you in the garments that remain from the dragon's attack. Then someone pours cool, clear water down your throat. You accept it eagerly.
What have you done to me, Sartan? You've taken my magic away!
You drink all of the water offered and soon notice a tingling sensation. Somehow the water has removed your ability to cast spells. You are as helpless as a newborn against these Sartan.
Calm, my friend. What we have done is temporary, and for your protection as much as ours. You have imbibed some nullified water. This eliminates all of your magical possibilities. While you cannot bring any possibilities into this reality, neither can any be placed upon you. This means that although you cannot cast any spells, you are invulnerable to others' magic as well. You have been nullified. It will continue for only as long as we need to question you.
The guy, is a big fan of speaking in redundancy, I notice. Like most people.
Now let us begin. Who are you? Why are you here? How did you get into the city?
Aren't you the same Sama who originally sundered the world? Who banished my people into the labyrinth?
Yes, I am that. I know that you can't understand this, but it was all necessary. It was part of a larger plan. I'll explain everything after you tell me what you know.
Do you know how long you've been sleeping?
Not really. I'm starting to think that it may have been much longer than I intended.
You've been asleep for over 2,000 years.
2,000 years? How is that possible? You must tell me what has happened. This just keeps getting more confusing.
All right, Sartan. You want the truth? I'll give it to you.
You can't handle the truth! You launch into a tirade, personally blaming Sama for leaving the labyrinth masterless, turning it into a slaughterhouse that thirsted for your people's death. You recount the thousands of years of struggle and bloodshed, which even now plagues your race. You describe your lord's unprecedented escape and tell how he selflessly and safely let others, including yourself, out of the labyrinth. You state that his thirst for revenge against the Sartan is unequaled.
If you kill me, others will follow. Even now, our army outnumbers that of the surviving Sartan. I've seen your forces. I know where they are, and I know that my lord will destroy them effortlessly. You can't win.
Wow, now Haplo's getting nasty. You continue by recounting your experiences and describing the status of the Sartan on each of the worlds. Sama cries openly at the description of the dead Sartan and their crystal resting places on Arianas. He seems genuinely confused by the antics of Zifnab on Prian. He recoils on learning of the practice of necromancy on Abarak, and he listens closely to your account of your battle with Sang Drax and of your escape.
I have much to say about what you have told me. Your people, you have been wronged. I wish I could change what has happened, but I cannot. It seems that we took on far too much. We thought we were gods, that we were infallible. We weren't. And both of our races have paid the price. However insane you think it might have been, there was a purpose to the plan. We tried to create worlds in which the Mensch would thrive once they were united and the realms were interconnected. What your lord seeks to do is collect all of the seal pieces to reform the original world. He doesn't understand what this means. His efforts will result in the death of many of the Mensch left alive in the new realms. Perhaps he does understand. By decimating the opposing force even before the war is joined, he ensures his success. I'm not sure the Mensch left alive will enjoy the slavery he undoubtedly plans for them. What he may not realize is that this will affect his own race as well. Many of his people will die in the Reformation. Do you think he would risk that?
You consider. You know your lord's ambition. From his research, he probably already knows how the Reformation will affect the Mensch, and you suspect that he may be willing to sacrifice his own people to further the cause of conquest. You understand that he views you individually as expendable. Just how far does his view of expandability extend? He has claimed in the past that there are always casualties in war.
You may be right, Sama. I'm not sure about your plan, but perhaps the Reformation isn't the correct path. I'll return to my lord and discuss it. For now, I'll leave your sealed piece here.
I'm very glad that you see things this way. I hope that we can begin a new era of peace together. Go back to your lord. Tell him that I will gladly speak with him. But I have one important question before you go. What exactly happened to Sandrax after you escaped from him?
As you consider the question, one of the men who brought your possessions into the room begins to writhe. He tears off his robe and metamorphosizes into the gigantic shape of Sang Drax. The Sartan dive for safety behind the benches. Only Sama and yourself remain standing in the open. Sang Drax ignores the assembly, glides over to the steel piece upon the wall, and grabs it between two talons.
Thank you, patron, for painting such a vivid picture of all of the worlds, including your own, that lovely place called the Labyrinth. Definitely a realm after my own heart. You see, I feed on fear and chaos, and I can't see a better way to produce such things than by allowing your lord to proceed with his plan. However, since you appear to have lost your nerve, I'll have to take your place.
The dragon's eyes focus on you, but for some reason you don't experience the wave of fear that accompanied his presence at your last meeting. Alongside of you, Sama is shivering. He looks terrified.
Your lord trusts you, does he not? Especially when you are doing what he wants. I shall take your ship, go to the Nexus, and deliver this seal piece to him. I'm guessing that it will complete his collection. Then I shall lead him to the Vortex where he can perform the rite of reformation. I'm so sorry you decided to turn against your lord. I'm sure that he doesn't view traitors in a very good light. I do hope you won't die in the ensuing chaos, all of you. I'd love to meet you again. We have much to discuss, and an eternity of pain during which we can discuss it.
He strolls out of the building before you can say a word. Well, shit. Only after the dragon has left do the councilmen emerge. Sama unclenches his jaw and forces himself to stop shaking.
Can't you stop Sangdrax?
No, I'm afraid not. His magic is too powerful for us to oppose. When we first arrived here, we built this city and placed the Mensch inside the other sea moons. Stone-enclosed islands much like this one. Shortly thereafter, Sangdrax appeared. We don't know where he came from. Unprovoked, he launched an attack against us. He never destroyed us all, just killed a few people. But it was enough to keep us scared and confused. We never had a chance to defeat him. He commands some form of magic that is foreign to us, more powerful than the rune-based magic that we use. We erected the ward around the city as a last-ditch effort against him. Evidently, it worked. The ward was designed to keep out all foreign magic. Since he consisted almost entirely of pure magic, he could not enter. We decided to enter our sleep capsules. We expected that when the others had learned that we were in danger, they would gather here to help us defeat Sangdrax. We keyed our awakening to occur when the ward had fallen, assuming that it would happen only when the other Sartan had arrived. We never dreamed that thousands of years would pass before the ward fell. Now that it has, Sangdrax is loose. Not only is he a threat to us, but with your ship, he has access to all of the worlds. And if he succeeds in causing the Reformation, we'll all probably die in the process anyway.
So, in other words, we fucked up.
You know, Zifnab gave me a stone to use against some ultimate evil. Do you think this might prove effective against Sangdrax?
I don't know. Tell me about it. It sounds like this might be some other kind of magic. Perhaps made from the same source that created Sangdrax himself. It may be that Sangdrax is vulnerable to it. Where is it? I didn't see it along with your possessions.
Sangdrax got hold of the stone and tossed it into a pile of rocks which look exactly like it. I don't have a clue which one it is.
I'm afraid I can't help you there. I never saw the stone to begin with, so I wouldn't be any help in finding it now, lost among similar rocks. I do hope you're able to get it back, though. Judging from the way Sangdrax reacted to it, it sounds as if that stone is our only hope to defeat the dragon.
Why wasn't I affected by the dragon's aura of fear? It sure had me in its grasp last time I encountered it.
That's because you had been nullified. Remember, nullifying water eliminates your vulnerability to magic, as well as your ability to cast spells. Sangdrax's aura of fear didn't affect you because no magic could affect you.
If that's so, why didn't you all tank up with the water and go after him? His magic wouldn't do a thing against you.
This is true. Although we would be helpless as well as invulnerable. While the water was in effect, we would not be able to use our magic against Sangdrax. We could only confront him physically. He can choose any form. In a purely physical battle, he would destroy us hands down.
How did Sangdrax take my form?
That's one of his powers. He can assume the form of anyone or anything he desires. The talent renders him insidious as well as invincible.
Where is Sangdrax leading, my lord? The Vortex?
Yes. The Vortex is the one place that the Reformation ritual can be enacted. It is where we originally sundered the world. It's also the only place where the interconnection can begin.
Where is the Vortex?
The only place from which the Vortex can be entered is in the Labyrinth. We reasoned that this would be the safest place to hide the portal. It may be that your lord will balk at traveling the length of the Labyrinth again, the wrong way. But Sangdrax can be very persuasive. He will convince him, one way or another.
What exactly is the interconnection?
We designed the realms to work together. Each had specific functions to perform in the overall plan. The interconnection was to tie all of the worlds together. Abarak would produce raw materials. Arianas would take those materials and refine them to produce manufactured goods. Prion would supply power to the other worlds. Chelestra was to provide a place for most of the people to live and purify some of the toxins from the other worlds, notably Abarak. The realms were never designed to survive on their own for an extended time, and yet that's exactly what they've had to do. It's not too late, though. From what you've told me, Abarak is dying. The interconnection is the only thing that can save it. It's the only alternative to Reformation.
How do you start the interconnection?
Much like the Reformation, it requires all 5 of the seal pieces. In the center of the vortex is a floating island. It has 4 spires. Each spire represents an element: air, fire, stone, and water. The seal pieces must be placed upon each corresponding spire. Then the spell itself must be ignited. This is done by placing the focus over the correct rune and inserting the Nexus seal piece into it.
Spires? Focus? What are you talking about?
Well, you did ask. The floor of the island is laid out with many interconnecting runes. Each rune can be used to ignite a distinct spell. Depending on the rune you choose, the function of the spell will be different. The Reformation requires that the spell be ignited from one particular rune. The interconnection, another. The focus is a hexagonal frame that floats over the island's floor. You can move it over the rune of your choice. When you place the Nexus seal piece inside of it, the focus automatically ignites the rune under it, which casts the spell.
Which is the starting rune for the interconnection spell?
It would be too difficult to describe. Though I will tell you that we left the focus over that rune. We intended to return and ignite the interconnection spell someday.
Let's back up a step.
Certainly.
Do you have another ship that I can use to pursue him?
Yes, certainly. In fact, as we've been speaking, I've had another ship placed in the same port where you landed. You're welcome to it. There is, however, one problem. We seem to be a little short on steering stones. It takes quite a while to magically prepare a stone sphere to accept the naming runes that guide a ship through the Death Gate. The only such stone we have is the ceremonial globe in this very chamber, and you can't use that.
Don't you think saving the worlds is worth sacrificing your precious ceremonial globe?
Not at all. You see, the globe was placed in this room before the building's construction was complete. It's too large to fit through any of the exits. It's also far too heavy to move any distance by hand. You're welcome to it if you can find a way to transport it. But then, it doesn't have any of the naming runes on it anyway. I don't think that the globe is the solution to this problem.
Sounds like I'm just gonna have to improvise.
Could we talk a little about the other worlds?
Very well. What would you like to know?
Do you know who Zifnab is?
I know of no Zifnab, but I doubt that is his true name. He sounds like a valuable ally if he knows as much as you say and has access to magic outside of our mastery.
As long as he doesn't act all loopy.
Why'd you react so strongly when I told you about necromancy?
Necromancy was banned for many reasons soon after it was discovered. The most important reason being that when someone dead is raised, someone else will die untimely. This maintains the balance. By relying on necromancy, the people of Abarak have doomed our race. The magic doesn't recognize the boundaries of the realms. It killed Sartan as far away as Arianas and Prion. It wiped out thousands.
Why is everyone here alive and well?
It's actually ironic. The ward that we constructed to repel the magic of Sangdrax must have had the effect of repelling the magic of necromancy as well. It kept us alive against 2 dangers. But now, we only have hundreds of people left, where once we had tens of thousands.
Tens of
We
thousands.
shall try to reconstruct our lives, to help our brethren on Abarak, if there is a world left to live on.
Let's go back a step.
Certainly.
I don't have time for talk. Now's the time for action.
Very well. If I can be of any further assistance, do not hesitate to ask.
You notice that sometime during your conversation with Sama, the nullification spell wore off. You now have command of your magic back again. Alrighty then. Let's get this show on the road. Ah, a rug with a very conspicuous illustration on it. Our carpet takes up most of the speaking area's floor. It depicts a beautiful scene. A single tree stands in a lush field. You know what time it is? It's Create Reality Pocket time! You trace the familiar spell into the air. When it takes effect, it's as if the picture in the carpet comes into focus, taking on a new dimension. The scene, a single tree in a lush clearing, is real. And as I recall, we need to somehow get that globe into the scene in order to carry it around. You get behind the globe and push against it with all of might. The stone sphere creaks, then rolls off of its stand, bounces down the steps, and ends up on the carpet. Only it doesn't stop there. Since the carpet is now a portal into the otherwhere, the globe falls into it. You see it continue to roll until it hits the tree in the scene. Yoink! Ah, beautiful. Right, I gotta find my stone too. Obviously. I can't just grab it right off the bat because I don't know which stone I need. Now that Sangdrax has left, the stone is no longer reacting to his magic by glowing. It looks like every other rock on the pile. Finding it is going to be an impossible chore. Too bad Sangdrax isn't around anymore, or I would know which stone to get. Yeah, still can get into his cave because I'm terrified. Do they still have some of that water for me?
You don't need to give me anything, my friend. You might need all of your possessions to face the perils ahead.
I know.
Hello again.
I don't have...
Very...
Maybe one of the other guys can help? Councilman, ignore you. Okay.
You don't need to give...
Yes, I need you to nullify this water for me so I can get into the cave. Or do I know the spell already? I didn't actually check. Ah, no water. The spell surrounds the bottle of water. After a few seconds it has done its work. Although the water looks the same, you know that it has the magic nullifying effects that you experienced earlier. Bottoms up. You take a swig of the water. Immediately you sense the effects. Your magic power drains away, making you feel as helpless as a newborn. But this also means that foreign magic cannot affect you. There's no doubt that Sangdrax calls this cave home. Blood streaks the walls, and the floor is littered with the remains of previous meals. Also, scales. You spread the dragon scales over the pile of rocks. As you hoped, Zifnap's rock reacts to the magic in the scales by glowing. Now the rock is very visible and easily distinguishable from the other stones in the pile. Yoink! Goody. Now, let's see what we can do with this. Well, moving the stone is going to be tricky. Well, let's just cast a spell on it and see how far we get. Reality Pocket. You trace the familiar spell into the air. When it takes effect, it's as if the picture in the carpet comes into focus, taking on a new dimension. The scene, a single tree in a lush clearing, is real. You step into the carpet hanging from the beam. Immediately you are transported into the scene, a lush clearing with a sole tree. Yeah, but that thing's... Oh. Again, you gather your strength and heave the boulder-like globe towards the portal. It rolls without much problem. In fact, as soon as the globe is partway through it, gravity on the far side grabs the sphere from your hands. The globe disappears. Thought it was going to be too heavy to move from here. Guess I'm wrong. You step through the portal back onto your ship. As soon as you leave, the carpet reverts back to its original state. You stand in the cramped bridge of Sama's ship. It has the navigational wheel and the globe where the steering stone should be. Now it just needs the runes, which we handily already have right here, thanks to that pendant we got from Prince Edmund. Ta-da! Transfer the pendant onto the stone globe. We're coming for you, Sangdrax. Alright. Well, Zar's nowhere to be found, as expected. Let's grab the book. This is bound to be important. Okay, so from the book we learned about the vortex, which the Sartan believed was the possible source of all magic, and of course the perfect place for them to execute their plan to sunder the world, and eventually perform the interconnection, and, if need be, the reformation. And it also detailed which of the 6 Sartan created which rune of the rune structure used in the Sundering, Reformation, Interconnection, etc., which is sure to be important later. But no time to waste, we gotta get ourselves into the labyrinth. Much as we don't want to. Stone spires tower above a field of writhing vines. You see a dark, twisted forest across the field. You take a cautious step into the field, but the choke vines immediately begin to creep toward you. You leap back before they can grab hold of your leg. Fortunately, they don't like cold too much. The cold spell floats over the sea of twisting vines. It expands and drops over the field like a blanket. As it does, you see frost form. The vines begin to move more and more slowly until they are torpid, completely still. Don't ask me how I remembered that. Or how you were supposed to originally find that out, but... yeah, well... I suppose the old methods of the labyrinth still work. Ooh. You stumble out of the brush only to come face to face with 3 wounded tiger creatures. Unfortunately, what you know of the labyrinth tells you that the only thing more dangerous than a tiger creature is a wounded one. They stare at you in surprise and let out a growl and tense to leap. You don't have time to do much but run. Crap, I gotta scare them off somehow. Or maybe I could put on a disguise. Oh. The tiger creatures fall on you in a fury of teeth and claws. At that moment, everything in the world is sharp and covered with blood. You discover that without an effective plan, a lone patron simply cannot defend against these monsters. Oops. Oh, they're still chasing me. Crap, what am I supposed to do? Heat the choke vines back up again? Damn it. No, not that way. Keep running. Ah, the tiger creatures hesitate when they come to the field, but after observing your safe crossing, they charge in after you. When you pause to look back, they're already about halfway across. Now that they see you, they start sprinting. You don't think that you can run any further without them overtaking you. Now, we heat the vines. No, not cold, heat. Ah! Undo. Stupid tiger creatures. The frost disappears as the heat spell takes hold. At first the plants move sluggishly, but as the torpidity subsides, they resume their normal activity. The tiger creatures are caught in the middle of the field when the vines reawaken. The plants wrap around their struggling prey and drag them off to separate spires. With wild eyes, the tiger creatures watch lightning strike a spire only a few hundred yards to the west. It then strikes the next closest spire and proceeds to work its way down the line. Soon the lightning blasts the two closest spires. The stench of cooking tiger meat reaches you even here. Yummy! Well, at least now we can pass. Goddamn changing orientation. The fire pit looks well used. The tiger creatures have camped here for some time. You wonder how this has affected the nearby village. I can't cast spells on the fire pit, so I can't light it. Whatever. Trees. Twisted trees grow at odd angles. Branches thrust outward like daggers. There are places in the labyrinth where the trees are sentient and those branches are employed as weapons. Oh my. Cave. It's a bone. It's the bowed bone of a tiger man's upper leg. Interesting. Stalagmites. Cave painting. The crude cave painting depicts a dark god of the tiger creatures, presumably death, chasing after its tiny feline followers and shooting bolts of lightning. It is clothed in a black robe which shows only a skull-like head. It's an interesting insight into the Tiger Man religion. Can we move any further? Okay. I thought we were going to have to cut our way through the branches or whatever, but... You stand on the outskirts of a village in the throes of battle. A pack of tiger men circle a group of patrons huddled under a magical shield. And we're going to have to help them somehow before the tigers get to them. Which is where that zinger comes into play, if I can figure out how to use it. Activate. Electric zinger has no power yet. That's why we need to charge it up by putting it on the spires somehow. Or, what if I warm the vines first, then I throw the zinger at them, they snatch it out of the air and carry it off to the nearest spire. Predictably, lightning strikes the spire, but instead of destroying the Sartan artifact, the energy is totally absorbed by the zinger. It charges itself with the power of the lightning. Ah, perfect. Freeze the vines. Take the zinger. No, not that way. Now, of course, this painting gives a good indication as to what would scare off the tiger creatures, but what if we tried making it real? You cast a spell upon the picture. Immediately, the spectral figure takes on depth. It's much more frightening than the original crude drawing. The ghostly form flies out of the wall, throwing lightning blasts everywhere. Unfortunately, everywhere includes where you are standing. Oops. Oh well, just gotta improvise. Instead, we put the zinger under the robe, turn it on, and let her fly. You pull the switch attached to the electric zinger. The contraption flies out of your hands, twisting and turning in the air, flopping the black robe back and forth and banging into trees and huts. The tiger creatures look at the apparition with confusion and perhaps a hint of recognition, but they shrug it off as the battle once more commands their attention. They seem a bit more cautious than before, however. Eventually, the zinger runs out of power and drops to the ground nearby. You collect it and retreat to your vantage point. Huh. I thought for sure that was gonna do the trick. Damn. Guess I gotta think of something else. Undo so I don't have to recharge the zinger all over again. Did I get any points for that? No. So that obviously wasn't the right thing to do. Oh wait, it needs a face. And there are skulls here. So, there we go. Activate. The tiger creatures point and hiss at the flying sideshow and then scattered in random directions, pure terror in their eyes. When the Zinger's power drains, it drops out of sight somewhere in the forest. The shield around the huddled men finally falls. Methodically, they begin scattering through the village, locating and tending to the wounded. One man, seriously injured, lies in front of you. The headman of the village, who valiantly supported the magic shield for so long, approaches the wounded man and summons a healer. Hey, buddies! A nervous-looking young woman rushes over, nearly dropping her package of healing herbs and implements. She surveys the horrible wounds sustained by the fallen patron and gasps. The stern look from the headman prods her into her routine. He tries to clean and dress the wounds, but they are too severe. You can tell she is inexperienced and that this case is too much for her. Well, it just so happens I have some healing salve. All the way from Arianos. Because of the severity of the man's wounds, you end up emptying the crock of healing salve over his chest. You can see the gashes close up in the space of a few heartbeats. The healer gasps, but the headman nods. He looks at you with newfound respect. The healer is shocked, but she doesn't let this amazing development slow her down. Quickly, she packs away all of her tools and moves on to help other injured villagers. In her haste, she drops a cord, presumably used to stitch wounds. The headman stays on to direct the healthy patrons in packing up the village. It appears that he plans to quit this site soon. Yoink! Now we have a bow. And arrow. Doesn't seem to be a suitable place to put the... Yeah, well, he'll know when to use it, I guess. Hi, glad I could help.
I never expected you to return. I should kill you for what you've done. If you hadn't driven those tiger creatures off, I would kill you. Why you did that after you led them here in the first place is beyond me. Leave me now. You've done enough damage.
What are you talking about? I didn't lead the creatures here.
Of course you did. Not more than 2 hours ago, you and Lord Tsar passed through this village. Unwittingly, we helped you. We gave you current directions towards the center because for some reason that's where you wanted to go. You were very pleasant then. You thanked us and went on your way. Shortly thereafter, you returned alone, leading a charge of the tiger creatures. During the battle, you disappeared. I don't know why I don't gut you right now. We lost more men in the skirmish than we have in a month of fighting. Now this encampment is compromised. We'll have to move as soon as we're able, and we have you to thank for it.
That wasn't me. Lord Tsar is accompanied by a shape-shifting dragon. I'm on their trail.
A shape-shifting dragon? That's a new one. I wouldn't put it past the labyrinth, though. It's getting more and more devious every day. If this dragon accompanies Lord Tsar, then as long as he doesn't realize the true nature of his companion, he is in mortal danger. My resources are meager, but I am willing to help you as I can. What would you have of me?
Well, he was certainly quick to believe me. Huh.
Tell me how the dragon got the tiger creatures to attack.
It wasn't difficult. Remaining hidden from the dangers of the labyrinth is a daily struggle. The pack of tiger creatures moved into the area not long ago. He paid them a visit, then came straight here. The entire pride followed, snarling for blood. The creatures were delighted to discover the village. They pounced and caught us completely by surprise. Many died in the first few moments. The rest rallied here in the center. We managed to shield ourselves until you arrived. I'm glad you came when you did. I don't know how much longer the magic would have lasted.
Can you tell me where Lord Tsar and the dragon went when they left here?
Certainly. They entered the forest to the north, but that information won't help you much. The labyrinth reinvents itself all the time. Paths that Tsar and the dragon followed could have vanished, could even be pits or swamps. Only a skilled tracker could find them now.
Is there such a tracker in the village?
Yes, we do have such a man. In fact, he was the one that you saved. If you asked, I'm sure he would help you find those two.
What dangers can I expect further along in the labyrinth?
I've never traveled backward through the labyrinth. Our goal is to leave here. Even so, though every step toward the final gate presents a challenge, I doubt that the labyrinth would prevent someone from penetrating deeper into it. It's akin to walking toward the center of a spider's web. When you finally arrive, you'll have a devil of a time getting back out. You'd be doing the labyrinth's job for it. Any obstacles you encounter are not likely to have been placed there by the labyrinth. More likely, you will find traps set by the dragon. It seems to me that the attack of the tiger creatures was such a trap. Obviously, the dragon didn't care whether we defeated them or not. If we managed to defeat them, we would kill you on sight for loosing them upon us. If we didn't, the whole area would be swarming with them. Either way, it would have been rough going for you.
This guy sounds surprisingly unenthusiastic about all that's been going on.
Let me think on this. If I come up with anything, I'll ask.
Very well. I must instruct the survivors to begin packing up the village. We can't remain here for long. The scent of so much blood on the wind will draw predators from all parts of the labyrinth. If you think of anything, simply ask.
You healed me, brought me back from the brink of death. I am indebted to you.
It was nothing.
It was everything. I'm in your debt. I don't like being in someone's debt. Tell me how I can repay you.
I hear you're a pretty good tracker.
I know the labyrinth. I know its signs. I can sense how it changes, sometimes even how it will change. If I find the start of a trail, I will never lose my way.
Do you think you could help me?
Of course. I'm in your debt. Tell me what I must do to absolve myself of it.
I'm on the trail of Lord Czar and his companion, who happens to be a shape-shifting dragon. Do you think you can find them?
Of course. That's what I do. I will accompany you while I track them. When I'm certain that we've found them, my obligation to you is resolved. I must return to my village.
Well, thanks very much, fellow patron. Traveling at a pace you have trouble matching and discovering small clues you would never have found, the tracker leads you through the dark wood. Eventually you come upon a huge cave. A monster, which resembles a huge insect, though more formidable, stands guard outside.
The trail leads here into that cave. I've seen this cave before. There is no exit. Your quarry lies inside. The creature guarding the entrance is a Cheodan. I've only encountered their like once or twice before, and I can tell you this. If you spill its blood, every drop will grow into a duplicate of the monster. Only by killing it before it bleeds, usually with a precise thrust through its heart, can you keep it from regenerating. A sloppy attack, and you'll have an army of these things to contend with. Usually the best way to deal with this type of beast is to avoid it. I don't think you've got that luxury, though. If you're going into that cave, you'll have to go through the Cheodan. My obligation to you is over. I've led you to the end of the trail. The people of my village need my help, so I must return. Good luck.
The tracker bolts into the wood. Between one moment and the next, you've lost all trace of him. You're now alone. Safe for the delightful company of the Cheodan, of course. Well, time for the rest of my inventory to come to the rescue yet again. Phew! With amazing accuracy, far more than you would have expected from such a primitive bow, you loose the arrow at the monster. The arrow penetrates straight through its heart and the beast falls dead before a drop of its blood can fall. Unfortunately, the arrow has buried itself so deeply into the creature it can't be retrieved. Well, good enough. Let's go. Oh, you walk toward the cave, but a familiar wave of fear washes over you. The leaden weight of terror pulls you to your knees. You can't force yourself to enter the opening. Great. Do I have any water? Oh, there already was water in the fucking bottle. Whatever. Cast Nullify on it again. Or Null Water, whatever. Water has already been transformed. Okay, drink it. Damn the consequences. Oh, hi, Sangdrax. Long time no see. Fortunately, stalagmites and stalactites with knife-sharp edges stipple the cave. In the midst of them, Sangdrax waits patiently for you.
I've been expecting you, patron. I knew that the obstacles I placed would do no more than delay you, but they gave me enough time to find the portal to the vortex. Czar is there now, waiting for me. As soon as I take care of you, I'll return to complete my task. Can't imagine why you've persisted in following me. After I spared your life, you should have cowered in the nearest corner, praying that you would never see me again. Instead, you continue to race towards your doom. Well, it would be rude to disappoint you.
You lash out at the dragon with your trusty, rusty shear. Sangdrax doesn't bother to defend himself, but the wind from his laughter blows you back just the same. Ah, I never thought for sure that was gonna work. Well, guess we're gonna have to resort to the stone. You press on the stone, then it collapses in the palm of your hand like a wad of paper. The green glow explodes around you, blinding you. When the spinning colors fade, you see that somehow the stone has summoned Zifnab, mounted up atop his dragon. You're so stunned by the sight that you drop the bottle you carry to the cave floor, where it shatters. Good going, Haplo. Sangdrax hisses with anger and disbelief. His fury takes control, and in lightning quick he lashes out at the pair. He tries to bury his fangs into the neck of the new dragon to inject his deadly venom into its body. But Zifnap's dragon is too fast. He rakes a claw across Sangdrax's face and forces him back into the cave wall. The impact shakes the cave and stuns Sangdrax. The good dragon takes the opportunity to place Zifnap out of harm's way, but Sangdrax springs up and pounces while the other dragon's back is turned. His back claws rip through the thin membrane covering the good dragon's wings. When the good dragon finally forces Sangdrax away, he is left with strips of loose flesh hanging from the bones that once supported his glorious wings. He retreats from Sangdrax, dragging his wings and leaving a trail of blood behind him. Sangdrax laughs and positions himself for the death blow. Sangdrax leaps, but Zifnap's dragon dives beneath the attack, less wounded than he appeared to be. He sinks his teeth into Sangdrax's exposed underbelly and tears a sizable chunk of flesh from his chest. Sangdrax screams and races away from the fight towards the back of the cave. He sinks into the darkness until all you see are the two red glowing eyes.
You haven't beaten me. When I've led Tsar to the vortex, he'll reform the world and this place will be no more. I don't think you'll survive. But if somehow you do, we'll meet again, and then I'll have my revenge.
The red eyes wink out and Sangdrax is gone. Oh. The dragon's beauty is marred by horrible red wounds along his back. His eyes are half-lidded, not in sleep this time, but in pain.
And I was just getting into the shower. You call it the most inopportune times, Haplo. You've a knack for getting into trouble, my boy, and this is a doozy. My. Face to face with the embodiment of evil. You've had a full day. And look what happened to my dragon. I'm afraid this is going to have to come out of your security deposit.
Oh, I've missed your insanity, Zifnab.
That's all the rock did? Summon you here?
What did you expect it to do? Wasn't that enough? I think that I did a mite better than you would have in this fight. Well, I did have a little help. Nonetheless, we saved your bacon, and I think we deserve a little gratitude.
Well, I suppose he has a point there.
My thanks, Zifnab. I appreciate your help.
Of course you do. It's always nice to have the side of good rescue you from certain death. Every time it happens to me, I get goosebumps. There's nothing better, I tell you, except maybe a really good pastrami sandwich with extra mayo.
Yeah, that's great, but we're kind of on a deadline here.
Why did you let Sangdrax escape?
I didn't see you there slugging it out with Sangdrax. I think my dragon did an admirable job in driving him off. Sangdrax is weak and desperate. He'll be much more likely to make a mistake now.
Where did the evil dragon go?
He slipped out the portal. You see, thousands of years ago, Sama hid the magic portal to the vortex in the labyrinth, here in this cave to be exact. He figured that it would be the safest place to do so. No one would come back into the labyrinth to find it. The portal leads directly to the outskirts of the vortex. We must assume that Sangdrax has already escorted Tsar there. In fact, they'll probably go directly to the floating island. Very soon, Tsar will begin the Reformation, unless we stop him.
Is your dragon all right?
He doesn't look good. Sangdrax did quite a job on his wings. He got his comeuppance, though. Did you see those wounds on his face and chest? Those will smart for a few hundred years, mark my words. He won't even be able to change form to heal them. When you get wounds like that, they stay for dinner.
I could have taken that dragon.
Well, you may get your chance. Remember, Sangdrax is still on the loose, and my dragon doesn't look like he'd survive another direct confrontation. It may be up to you after all. I'm glad you have so much confidence. I'd be willing to take odds if you'd like to wager on your success. I'll give you, let's see, 300 to 1. Sound fair?
What do we do now?
Well, that's simple. We go after him. We have to stop him before he leads Tsar to the center of the vortex. They have all of the seal pieces which you were so kind as to supply, so nothing stands in the way of the Reformation. Whenever you're ready, I'll take us through the portal to the vortex.
All right, I'm ready to go. Take us through, Zifnab.
Very well. Climb up on my dragon and I'll take us all through. My dragon is wounded, Mr. Insensitive. Why don't you get rid of some of that heavy junk that you've been toting around? It'll make the trip that much easier for him.
With a shrug, you go through your belongings and toss aside everything that appears useless. After you're done, Zifnab doesn't say anything more about it, so you guess that you've offloaded enough. You and Zifnab mount the wounded dragon. Zifnab traces a complex spell which grows to a glowing hoop in space, large enough even to accommodate the dragon. Painfully, the dragon steps through, and a thunderclap later, you arrive at the edge of the vortex. This ledge looks over the swirling vortex. Somewhere in the mist, an island floats above the center. Well, let's not waste any time and get to it. Hello? You're on one of the magic paths. A stone arch looms ahead. Beyond it stands someone who looks exactly like you. The other Haplo simply repeats everything you say at the same time you say it. Actually, it's pretty annoying. Okay, so we got a double. And here's where a neat little trick, whoops, no, not resurrection, reset, where a little trick comes into play. You remember the self-immolation spell? Yeah, obviously if we cast it like this, it's gonna self-immolate us. Hang on, let me get these runes down. This is important. Okay. We've seen which runes the spell is made up of, so if we cast them in the reverse order, what do you think our double is going to do? Is that right? That one, right? Here goes. No, I did something wrong. No, I have to cast it in mirror. Well, cast it so that it looks mirrored. Let's see. That'd be, yeah. No. Not on top. This one goes on top. Then like so. Ah! You cast a nonsense spell into the air. Of course the spell does nothing, but your double casts the spell's mirror image. This does happen to be a real spell. In fact, the spell that he casts is self-immolation. It dives into his body and burns it into ashes. His clothes and possessions fall to the ground. You search through the double's remains and discover duplicates of everything you carry. Now we have two halves of a shear to make a whole shear. Or, well, to make shears. Grayish-green slimy tentacles snake out from somewhere below the path. They twitch and reach out for you. Taste my shears! Guess that's not the answer then. A tentacle whips out from under the path, wraps around your leg, and tugs at it. You feel you might be able to pull away, but if you move forward, you'll enter a whole nest of them. Now do I cut it? With a quick snip, you cut the tentacle away, but another whips out to wrap around you. Taste my shears. The ichor-covered stump draws back under the path along with the remainder of the tentacles. The creature has evidently had enough. Aha! Well. Look who we have here. The floating island is suspended over the center of the vortex. A circular platform in the center has 4 spires along its perimeter. You come upon Lord Tsar standing in the center of the island. He holds all of the seal pieces in his hands and is closely examining the focus. Off to one side you see Sangdrax in your form waiting patiently. On your arrival, Zar's head snaps up and he regards you in shock and surprise.
What are you, some kind of phantasm born of the vortex? I can feel the wild magic around us. Are you part of that?
I am no phantasm. I am the true Haplo. Your companion is a dragon who has taken my form to trick you into destroying the world. He has tried his best to keep me from following you here, but here I am. You must stop what you are doing, my lord. The Reformation will not be what you expect. Many will die, including our own race.
My Haplo, so dramatic all of a sudden.
My lord, it's obvious that this is some trick, some manifestation of the Vortex's wild magic. Why it spouts lies to stop you from claiming your rightful heritage, I don't know. But don't spare it a thought. Continue with the ritual, and I will deal with my double.
Sangdrax's eyes flash red as he turns to you with a grin that shows razor-sharp teeth. The scar left by Zifnab's dragon on his face only makes him more menacing.
What you say makes sense, my son, but something about this doesn't ring true. Can you prove your words? Are you the real Haplo? Or is this, as my companion claims, just a hollow trick?
It's no trick. I can prove I'm Haplo. Remember our conversation about heart runes? They name us. They give us our magic. They are the center of our beings. If they are torn or broken, we fall ill. We cannot function. I show you mine, unbroken. I challenge my double to do the same.
Good thinking.
Of course I can show you my heart rune. And why not? After I've done so, I'll eliminate this annoyance so that you can complete the Reformation undisturbed, Lord Tsar. I live only to serve you.
Promise of death in his eyes, he opens his shirt. Only when he has done so does he realize his mistake. The wound taken from Zifnab's dragon slashes across his chest, straight through his heart rune. Not only is the rune broken, but much of it is missing.
So much for subterfuge. I prefer to be direct anyway. My lord, you will complete the Reformation. If you do not, I will kill you. It's your choice.
Sangdrax screams in fury and Tsar motions for you to join him inside the circle. No sooner have you positioned yourself alongside your lord than Sangdrax hisses at both of you, his eyes glowing blood red. That just sort of happened. I wasn't even a part of that.
Very well, Dragon. I will continue the Reformation, but only because it suits my purposes as well.
Oh, no you don't.
Excellent. Get on with it then.
Tsar takes a moment to ponder his options and then carries the fire seal piece to its spire counterpart. Quickly he slides the piece onto the monolith's face. That very second, the entire island outside of the protective circle where you stand erupts in flame. A storm of fire swirls and batters the ground. Sangdrax, caught in the sudden maelstrom, screams in agony. You quickly lose sight of him behind the curtain of flame.
That should take care of our friend, eh? Tell me what's happening here, Haplo. Quickly, if you don't mind. It seems that I have been misinformed. The Reformation is not what I wished it to be. I must change my plans.
You explain everything to your lord, skipping nothing but telling your story as swiftly as possible. Tsar considers. Well, looks like he can listen to reason after all.
We will bring about the interconnection. The worlds cannot survive without it. But the Sartan's strength is severely depleted. It is as nothing compared to ours. After we have connected the realms, we shall invade them, wipe them clean of the Sartan influence, and take our rightful place as rulers.
Still going on about that. Whatever.
Attend me, my son. I've placed the focus over the starting rune of the Reformation. While you gather the remaining seal pieces, I have to move it back to the interconnection starting rune. I'm lucky that my research indicated which rune this was. Otherwise, I might not know how to bring it about.
Tsar squats over the focus, scans the surface of the floor, and prepares to move the floating frame to another rune. Uh-oh. Suddenly, Sangdrax's head bursts from the curtain of flame. He has reverted to his original form, that of a fire-breathing dragon, a form completely impervious to the effects of the storm swirling around him. He looses a tongue of fire at Tsar's chest. The blast leaves nothing but a blackened hole, and Tsar slumps to the ground, dead.
Now it's your turn, patron. Unless you decide to be more cooperative than your master.
No. really care. But we gotta do something about him. Let's see. How do you like air? Ah. You press the steel piece into the spire's indentation. The firestorm disappears, but Sangdrax is buffeted by gale force winds. This, however, doesn't stop him from engulfing you in a torrent of fire. Okay... Water? You like water. Oh, you leap forward and press the steel piece into the indentation. It crackles and affixes itself to the spire. The firestorm surrounding the protective circle is replaced by a deluge of water. The dragon chokes back his attack with a comic gurgle and disappears behind sheets of rain. Well, I probably shouldn't do this, but you gotta tell me. You cast the intricate spell over the still warm corpse of your lord. You sense a rushing of air, and suddenly you see Czar's spirit pulled into his body like water down a drain. His eyelids flutter open and he stares directly at you. Although he appears to be aware, there is no life in his eyes, and his face is without expression. Somewhere in the driving rain, you can hear the pop and sizzle of Sangdrax's fire being doused, but you also hear a squishing, sloshing sound that usually accompanies one of his shape changes.
The heart, the heart, the heart.
Czar keeps repeating the same phrase over and over. Maybe it has something to do with the huge hole in his chest. You see Sangdrax now deep in the rain. He has discarded the fire-breathing dragon form for something that looks like a sea slug, an invertebrate with a gelatinous worm shape. It starts to slide towards the protective circle and you. Now, what Czar just said is an important clue about where to put the focus, because you remember he was talking earlier about the 6 devils, and he named one of them the Devil of the Heart. But if we hadn't paid attention to what he told us earlier, we wouldn't know who that was. Fortunately, I was smart enough to write it down this time and discover it was Orsef, whose ruin is indicated in the book that we got. So we gotta move the focus over his ruin as soon as we take our Sangdrax here. What's next? Stone? Sangdrax in the form of a giant gelatinous worm crawls effortlessly through the sheets of water. Despite its slow speed, it will be on you in moments. You press the steel piece into the earth spiral. It crackles and affixes itself inside the indentation. The water stops falling, changes into rocks and boulders. They smash into the worm and stop it in its tracks. Soon you lose sight of it behind the curtain of falling earth and rocks. Crap. I need to check the book first. You hear an almost rhythmic thumping and squishing of stone and earth striking the sickeningly soft body of the sea slug. Then it stops. The falling stones strike only the ground as if the worm suddenly disappeared. Don't have much time here. Fuck! I accidentally closed the book! You peer into the curtain of falling earth and you see smoky tendrils weaving their way in and out of the stone projectiles. Even when one manages to strike the vaporous form, it only dissipates for a moment and then a ghost-like dragon reforms. A pair of red glowing eyes are the only constant. They float slowly through the earth storm towards the protective circle where you stand. Air! The rocks and boulders fall straight through Sangdrax's vaporous form. Slowly, ominously, he floats towards you. You set the steel piece inside the air spire's indentation. It crackles and affixes itself there. The rocks stop falling, but gale winds rage around the protective circle. It feels as if you are standing in the eye of a tornado. The ghost dragon is caught in this wind. The wind scatters his smoky form until it vanishes. Now read the goddamn book. History of the Sun Ring. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Where are the spells? Sama, Dmitri, Orsef. It's that room. Okay, I got it. I hope. The winds have scattered the ghost dragon for good, it seems. You can't find a trace of Sangdrax anywhere. Perhaps the storm has finally taken care of him. I wouldn't be too sure, but... yeah, that's the ticket. Somewhere deep in the winds, you see a shadow rising from the ground, growing larger and larger. You recognize the silhouette even from here. It's Sangdrax's original form, that of a fire-breathing dragon. and you are left without any elemental storms to hurl against him. But I got this.
You're all out of seal pieces, patron.
I've got one more, dragon.
When you drop the Nexus seal piece into the focus and ignite the interconnection spell, magic flows through the runes of the island and connects the elemental spires. Sangdrax, unwisely attempting to break through the magic field in order to stop you, confronts the brunt of its power. It proves to be too much, even for the incarnation of evil, and the explosion hurls him into the swirling vortex, hopefully never to be seen again. You've connected the 5 realms. Perhaps now the worlds can function as planned, and their inhabitants can not only survive, but flourish. Yet you ponder one particular unrealized goal of your Lord, namely the release of your people from the labyrinth. With time, and the aid of the Sartan, you may be able to see this dream fulfilled, but that must wait for another day. You've completed Deathgate. You've saved the realms from a fate worse than death. And while doing all of this, you scored 1,500 out of 1,500 points.
Hooray!
Congratulations.
I've succeeded at winning the mission! Whew, that was quite something. Well, so, that's Deathgate. Quite an interesting game, if I do say so myself. A bit wordy, perhaps, as we found out. But, nevertheless, well designed. Had a good story. Very interesting world and mythology behind it. Obviously, since it was based on a series of fantasy novels. Interesting puzzles. A bit easy, since they kind of spell out everything that you have to do. But, nevertheless, very satisfying to figure out. A lot of fun overall. Yep, awesome music by Eric Haberling as well. Good artwork. Bit lacking in animation, but that's to be expected of Legend Entertainment. They're all about the story and not so much about the presentation, I suppose, considering they used to do the classic kind of interactive fiction stories. And from here they went on to create a bunch more different games based on novels such as Shannara and Callahan's Crosstime Saloon, which I probably already mentioned way back in part 1, come to think of it. Wow, now I'm being redundant. See what this game is doing to me? Perhaps I will probably check those games out someday as well. But for now, we've reached the end of this game, and my playthrough of it. I certainly hope you all enjoyed it. I had fun revisiting this game again after all this time. And of course, we'll be seeing each other again next time with whatever else I decide to play and or review. So, I've been Amayirot Akago, this was Deathgate, and hope to see you all again next time. See you out there somewhere. Bye-bye.